Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another round of the iFormula League F2 Series presented by Butt Kicker. We are here for round number 5 at the Australian Grand Prix, the Red Bull Ring, making an appearance on our final leg of our 5-round European Tour. I am Rob Slider. Up in the booth with me is Anthony Wallace. Good afternoon, Anthony, and welcome back to the booth. What do you expect to see here in today's race?
Thank you, Rob. Hopefully, some exciting racing. We have tight practice times today, so maybe Lewis and Steven will tie up and go at it all 40 something laps we have today, 47 laps.
Yeah, 47 laps today. This track fairly short, one of the shorter ones we have on the circuit. As you see, Matt Turner there currently on track. He had his first podium of his IFL career in the F2 just last week, and he is looking to run off some of that momentum, currently driving the CUDA Racing School colors this weekend in the F2 series. On top of the board right now is Steve Grabowski, and he is sitting up top with a 1:18.251. Lewis Archer, last week's winner, right behind him with a 1:18.336, and Daniel Thomas currently third on the scoreboard for free practice with a 1:18.518. So some very fast laps around here. 11 more minutes left to go in practice. And currently it looks like 11 drivers, 10 or 11 drivers in the session currently at the moment. So should be a good field of cars here for the Red Bull Ring. Very, very fast. It's kind of a track somewhat like we had at the beginning of the season at Monza. Very fast, good hard braking points. But this one just has got a few more turns. Doesn't have as many chicanes like Monza does. But it will be very awesome here for the Australian Grand Prix. We've got all of our drivers very, very close in time. Looks like the top 6 all within a second of each other. So it should be a very, very close, action-packed race today.
Yeah, I expect the same here in practice. We got Daniel Thomas and Lewis Archer running basically the same lap, and then Ivan down there about 6/10 off. He's going to pick up some time, and I expect Don Day to get a little quicker. He's fairly fast on the weekends as well, so already tight, and I expect it a little more tighter. This is a tricky track, though. You have a lot of hard braking zones into tricky corners, and these cars have a lot of torque out of the corner, so a little bit too much throttle when you're going around. So the afternoon could change in one corner. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
as you see Lewis Archer just go over, there are a couple spots on here where there's some big yellow sausage curbs, and they're at some fast parts in racetracks, so you really got to be careful as you see Lewis Archer loops it going into turn number 2.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Hard on the brakes, but you're trying to hit your turn in point just right and carry a little too much speed, and the rear end just loses the grip as you're trying to accelerate out.
And then as you get on that accelerator, you're actually cresting a fairly large hill there. So just as you're trying to get on the gas, you're coming up over top of a hill, which can upset the car. So you definitely really have to be very careful on when you get onto the gas there. But when you get on the gas, you really do have to put the power down and be confident in it. Otherwise, you're going to actually lose a lot of time. You see Lewis Archer looks to be fairly loose right now. Still at the top of the board, almost into the 1:17 second bracket, 600ths of a second off. So very, very close to the 17-second bracket. We'll see if Archer is able to get back in there. Steve Grabowski is in second place currently. Chris Byram worked his way. He's up to 4th place on the charts now. Wasn't sure if we were going to see Chris make the race today, but he made it last minute like he did a few weeks ago. He had a podium finish in that race, so we'll see if Chris can pull off another podium last minute tonight. good to see
Yeah, I was
all of our Cootie cars on the racetrack for the first time in a couple weeks.
glad to see him make it. A couple of guys weren't sure if they're going to make this race, but I'm glad he made it. He's always in there mixing it up with the guys. Looks like he's got a pretty decent time, about half a second off of Lewis Archer, but that's nothing to be upset about. Lewis Archer is extremely quick.
Yeah, we do have a few reserve drivers out today. Both Anton Knudsen and Eli Cannon from Orion Racing, as you see Chris Byram. Oh, almost getting into one of the Orion cars there. The two Orion Racing. Oh, what? That
big
was
accident,
kind of
buddy.
crazy. The two Orion drivers are actually out today. So we have Buddy Boggs, who you just seen get in there. He's actually driving as a reserve driver. And Anthony, you were actually going to be a reserve driver for one of the Orion cars until we needed a little bit of help in the broadcast booth, weren't you?
Yes, sir. I had to drop out of the reserve role to fill another reserve role, so I'm a little better on the track than I am the booth, but hopefully I can bring it up today with solid results either way.
Well, we
Hopefully Buddy
you.
gets some good results. He's filling in last minute, and this is a hard car to kind of just fill in for, especially if you're normally an F3 guy.
That's for sure. You see Buddy's pulling back off the track. We appreciate you coming and helping in the booth. Here in the IFL, we keep all of our broadcasts done in-house. So our F2 broadcast crew is all made up of drivers who drive in the F3 series, and our F3 broadcast crew is drivers that drive in the F2 series. Helps us keep everything under one roof, and we really get it done that way. You definitely want to come by tomorrow and check out our F3 race. It's on at the same time, going live at 3:45. Looks like 6 minutes left here in practice as we take a look at Eric Benos, currently 10th place on the charts. A couple seconds off the pace, but like you said, Anthony, these F2 cars, they really do take a while to get a grip on. And some of these drivers come out here and they really do put some effort down, but there's about an 8-second learning curve to these cars, so it does take some time to really get up there. To be only 2 seconds off the pace isn't really all too bad.
Yeah, I put in a ton of practice this week in anticipation of filling in for the Orion guys, and even with all the time I put in, I think I was close to lapping like a 19.4 or 19.5, and that's still a second and a half off Lewis Archer, and I thought that I was giving it all I had. I was on the edge of grip, especially through the corner where I'm watching Steve Grabowski go through now. That left-hander into the right-hander that kind of sneaks up on you. You get those tires overheated, go through there, and you just lose lateral grip, spin it around. It's a tricky track for sure. It doesn't seem to be, but this thing gives you fits.
Yeah, there's definitely certain spots on this racetrack that really gets you to see the last corner there where Steve came out. He kind of went onto the red there. If you go too far onto that red on the exit of that corner, and a couple of these corners, you actually get a 1 second slowdown penalty. And that is a whole lot. I mean, if the top six got 2 of those in this 47 lap race, and someone like Luis Colin or Buddy Boggs or Eric Benos, guys are just a little bit off the pace. If they don't get that, it could possibly be that those extra seconds help with a position or two in this race. And it's very, very easy on these high-speed corners to catch yourself just going just a half an inch off track and getting yourself that slowdown or getting yourself into the gravel.
Yeah, watching Steve here coming into some of the most dangerous portions of the track, you really want to carry a lot of speed onto the green there and run it wide out of the corner close to the apron here. But the next two corners, you carry too much speed and you're going to be on the green, and that's out of bounds. I'll give you a second. And then if he's close to it there, the wheel on the curb there. And then you hit the curb, swing a little wide, get on the red there. That's another second. I'll have you big slowdown going down the straightaway. Not to mention a 1x every time you do that. So if you hit 16, that's going to be a drive-through today.
Yeah,
you,
16
pretty far behind.
incidences for a drive-through penalty is how this works. So an incident point in iRacing, if you're unfamiliar, is anytime a car goes off track or comes in contact with an object, be it the wall or another car. And how that happens is it builds up incident points. You go off the track, you get 1, you hit another car, you can get 4. And if you reach 16 of those before the end of the race, you get a black flag and a drive-through penalty through the pits. And the first few races of this season, we've seen quite a few cars getting drive-throughs, especially at Monza. We've seen a few. We've seen a few at Nürburgring. Not too many last week. A lot of drivers were a little bit more careful, but I believe we did see 1 or 2 drive-throughs last week. So it's going to be one of them big things is a drive-through penalty is 30 seconds off your race. And that's just for accidentally going off track here and there. So keeping a clean race is definitely key to keeping some time and track position. And don't forget about that 1 bonus point for the cleanest driver of the race. The person with the fewest incident points gets that extra point towards the championship. So it always pays to be clean, both on and off the racetrack. We've got 2 minutes less than practice remaining. Lewis Archer still on top of Steve Grabowski. Daniel Thomas still sitting happy in 3rd place. And as I look at the scoreboard, the top 6 cars are all Cudi eMotorsports entries.
Yeah, looking at the times, Steven Grabowski, he was in the pits until Lewis Archer dropped that 18.0. He came out, he also dropped 1. He is maybe a 10th off, a little over a 10th off.
Yeah,
a little under.
Steve Grabowski with a 1:18.065.
But as I was saying in the beginning of the broadcast, Ivan Bokamp, he was going to improve his time. He dropped it down significantly, closing in on Steven and Lewis.
Still 0.3 off the lead, but definitely close enough to put in a battle. And I mean, and there goes Daniel Thomas with a 1:18.093. The last minute of practice coming in, and these guys turning some really fast laps. Great lap from Daniel Thomas. Really, really close to the leader. I think that's the most speed we've seen out of that 96 car all season. So definitely look to see him up front today here at the Red Bull Ring.
This is just practice. I can't wait for qualifying.
And see what our race info is here before qualifying. 74 degrees ambient temperature out. Looks like 82 degrees Fahrenheit on the racetrack. So a very cool track, lots of grip, should see a lot of good close racing. 47 laps today. Gonna be a very long race. Attrition is gonna come into it. These guys gotta keep their cars clean and make sure that they have everything set and everything straight for the end of the race. As free practice comes to an end, Lewis Archer is gonna top the board, with Steve Grabowski coming in 2nd and Daniel Thomas rounding out 3rd place in practice. And now we've got a 25-minute qualifying session. Steve Grabowski going to be the first car on track.
A couple of other guys leaving the pits as we speak here. We got Eric Meadows, Lewis Collin also leaving the pits, Steve Bunting, Don Day. Lewis Archer still, he's leaving his box now. Daniel Thomas following suit. Eric Meadows looks like he's going to hang out and just see what the lap times come down to be, maybe let him rubber up the track a little bit.
Well, Steve Grabowski is going to be our first guy to start a time lap. Let's take a ride along with Steve Bunting. And once he crosses the start-finish line here, we'll check out a lap here at Red Bull Ring. It does go by very fast.
Takes about a lap and a half, 2 laps to really heat the tires up.
See him weaving there, trying to get a little heat into him going down the straightaway. But he's about to start his first flying lap. As you see him come over, hit this stripe. If you go off into the red there in the center of the car, you get a slowdown. But here comes the stripe. Steve Grabowski taking us for a lap around the Red Bull Ring here in Austria. Hard brake into turn 1. Don't go over that curve too hard, but really get on the throttle because you've got a really long straight here down into turn number 2.
Hard braking zone down into 2 here. quick downshifts uphill. Very loose corner, easy to overdrive and lose the car. He does a fantastic job there.
Once again, another long straight all the way through the gears. And then we've got somewhat of an actual faster right-hander. You do slow down quite a bit, but it is kind of a faster right-hander for such a long and hard braking zone. But this is the really hard portion of the track. It's very flat. You really got to watch yourself getting on the throttle because you don't want to spin it, because you don't want to overdrive the corner and go down into the gravel. And then this really high-speed chicane, you just have to hit it just right to carry all the speed up the hill and down to these last two corners.
Here we go into the dangerous time again. Last two corners hit them just right. Speed down the straightaway. You want to get as close as you can to the red, but you touch it, that's going to be a penalty.
He actually hit the brakes right in the mid-corner to make sure that he did not go off track for that first lap. So Steve Grabowski, I believe he might have actually gotten an off track here because he did not set down qualifying time. So I think he might have actually gone off track just before he finished that lap. Chris Byram is out on the track. Looks like almost all of our drivers out on the track. Daniel Thomas starting his first flying lap.
He's hoping to put down what he did on his last lap of practice. Blazing lap that put him right there with Steven and Lewis Archer.
Well, these guys have got 22 minutes left here in practice or in qualifying, and the main thing is you want to put down some safe lap first. You want to put some good solid laps that'll get you a decent starting position, and then you really want to push it and see what you can get and really get the most out of your car. So I believe for the first 10 minutes or so, we'll see some drivers putting in some fairly okay laps, but they're not going to be really flying. But I think that last 5-6 minutes of this qualifying session, we'll really see the time start to drop.
Yeah, as we've said in previous broadcasts, these guys like to load up on the fuel a little bit and run some laps to really get their tires in order and then be ready to go as we close the session. Daniel Thomas swinging pretty wide onto the apron there, trying to get set up for a good exit. Cuts it close to the red box down the straightaway. And he drops a decent lap in 18.4, but gets quickly beat by Lewis Archer with an 18.12. Expect Lewis Archer to really drop it down into the 17s in this qualifying session.
There we go. We had a little problem with the overlay, but we're back. Looks like we do have a few drivers that did put some laps in that I didn't actually see. Yeah, Lewis Archer on top of the board of Daniel Thomas right now.
Putting down laps early on. An 18.2 would probably see him start in the podium positions if what we saw from practice carries over.
Chris Byram on a fast lap. Seemed kind of slow through that last corner. And not a good lap for Byram. See if he can pull it out. He was a little bit loose coming out of turn one there.
These corners right before the straightaways are the ones you really want to get right every time. You lose so much speed if you come out of the corner, 7, 8, 10 miles an hour slower. Really
Luis
kill your lap.
Colon just puts up a lap, 6th fastest. And Ivan Baukamp just takes that 6th place away with a 1:19.474. Lewis Archer, I'm wrong already. Oh, and sorry, there it goes, folks. Looks like we are still experiencing some issues with iRacing and Tai Chi. So we will be back in just one moment. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that quick break. Seem to be having a problem with Easy Anti-Cheat thinking I'm cheating while calling a race. So, not sure what that's all about. But we will get it all sorted out, get it all figured out, and we will get back racing here. Qualifying still happening. Steve Grabowski at the top of the charts right now. He put down a blazing fast 117.6. Lewis Archer in second with a 117.912, and then Ivan Baukamp has got that third place position locked down at the moment with a 118.120. You just seen Chris Byram move his way up to fourth with a 118.205.
Both of those laps being their last one, so they're definitely getting quicker here. See if they can drop down into the 18s.
Oh, and Grabowski, there it is. Trying to go up the hill. Gets her a little loose, loops her around a little bit.
We got Lewis Archer also losing it a little. These guys are competing for that pole, and neither one of them want to give it up.
Eric Beddoes struggling here in qualifying, trying to get a lap put down.
I've been there, that's not a good feeling. You just make more and more mistakes. First race of the season in F3, I couldn't post a qualifying time at a track I was pretty decent at. 25 minutes.
Sometimes that happens when you get into a race and you see all these guys going so fast, and all you want to do is keep up with them. So you try to keep up, and you keep up, and you start slipping, and you start going off track here, going off track there, and it really becomes a mental game from that point on. Whether you can push back the frustration of just not being as fast as everybody else, and really just stick to running your line and going your speed and keeping it on track. And once you can do that, you really become a good racer. There you see Beddoes, he just goes off track there a little bit. Not sure if that was a full off track or not, but just really struggling to keep it on track. Looks like Buddy Boggs might be doing the same thing. He's trying to put a lap down at the moment. Still does not have one on the board.
Yeah, again, it's a hard car to get used to, and Red Bull Ring, while not the most corners or the most difficult track, it's still not a good place to learn a new car. But I was watching Lewis Archer last lap or so. He slowed down, tried to get a tow, I believe. The car pulled over on the straightaway, it wouldn't oblige him. So it looks like Lewis is probably setting up for another go at Steven Grabowski here.
Well, Steve Grabowski's going kind of slow, and Steve just set his fastest lap the last lap, which was a 1:17.888. So I have to wonder if he was trying to let Lewis Archer catch up a little bit, but it doesn't look like that's actually Lewis Archer behind him. It looks like it's Ivan Baukamp or Daniel Thomas, one of the
We've completely overlooked Matt Turner dropping a heck of a lap at 18.0. He's right there with these guys.
Yeah, he moves his way up to third on the board, and he is currently on an out lap. Archer gets close with an 18.0, but still can't beat Steve Grabowski at the moment. Luis Colon coming and dropping another lap down. Can he move his way up the board? No, he's going to hit a 1:18.874, and he jumps them sausage curbs. Got to watch out. You don't want to hit them too often. You can damage the floor, or definitely even damage your steering if you hit it at the wrong angle. So you definitely have to watch out for those.
And with these being such a short lap, going into the pits for even an 8-second repair can put you well behind the rest.
Now this is actually what is surprising me here. Ivan Baukamp here in the 8 machine. He's always very, very fast in qualifying. You see him jump up to the top of the board all the time. And he's sitting 4th place right now. It's something new to see. You don't usually see him that far down in the grid. Oh, and Lewis Archer coming out of the last turn really sends it. Gets a little bit loose, and he's in the wall. Not going to have a time that he's looking for.
A little living dangerous on the edge there is what happened to him. Just lost to the last second trying to get back on the throttle with the gas.
And that's that pushing it that I was talking about at the beginning of qualifying. Lewis has got a nice, respectable timeout. He's got his safe timeout. There goes Daniel Thomas. He was up in third earlier, now down to sixth place on the grid at the moment. But Lewis Archer, he put in that respectable time. He's in a good spot. Now he's really trying to push it and give that car everything it's got. And these F2 cars are absolutely crazy to try to handle. And you seen it there. Coming out of that last turn, just took a little bit too much speed and ends up in the wall.
I was in the pits. He wants to compete for everything. If there's 25 minutes of qualifying, he wants to compete for 25 minutes, you know. So while he's sitting second with a great time, he wants to knock Steven back there to P2 there.
Ooh, and Byram almost gets in. So which car is that right there? This is not Matt Turner.
That is...
Wait, Chris Byram went in.
I believe that may be Matt Turner.
Was it? Well, Chris Byram must have gone in. So I guess that is Matt Turner. Currently sitting third with a really good time. Just above that 17-second mark. Really only a half a tenth off Lewis Archer and a tenth and a half off Grabowski. So Turner really turning up the heat in this CUDA Racing Academy car.
Yeah, what you were talking about with Lewis earlier, pushing it on the apron there and losing it. And that's the difference between a 18.067 and a 17.888. You really got to find the little places where you can push through.
Yeah, and driving that F3, I even have that where I'll take a turn and I'll just feel slow, and you'll hit it. Oh, there's a slow down for Turner as he wrecks it coming out of the final turn. But you'll take, like that final turn, for example, you'll take that turn and you'll miss the turn and you expected to do, or you'll take it a little bit differently than you normally do. And you'll find a tenth or two, and you'll be like, wow, that was faster, or this is faster. And when you find those, it sometimes takes a little bit of time to perfect them. But once you can perfect them, that's where you get that difference. But sometimes that extra tenth or two you find puts you a little bit more at risk than a safe lap would.
Yeah, you wonder where can I pick up that time here and there. Let's try this in a different corner. How can I look at this corner differently? Maybe later apex here, and then you start to experiment. You pick up some time, you lose some time, and then sometimes you end up in the wall. So
Daniel Thomas moves it up from sixth to third with a 1:18.049. Nice lap for Daniel Thomas as we've seen it right here. Moves that number 96 up to third. That puts one car from each one of our CUDA teams up in the top three at the moment.
And that puts
Grabowski
Ivan
in the
Bokamp
Racing
in.
Academy car, Archer in the Works car, and Thomas in the Evo.
We have 6 cars all within about 4/10 of a second. You were speaking earlier about Ivan, who's usually contending for a pole, and he's back here in P5. I don't think it's him slacking this week as it is the other guys really stepping up to the plate.
Yeah, I know the CUDA drivers, especially these F2 guys, they do spend some time practicing with each other and trying to make each other better. So with Bokamp and Thomas being on the same team, we see what Ivan Bokamp can do, and it looks like a little bit of Bokamp has rubbed off on Thomas this week. And Thomas is really sending that 96 car around. As you see, he puts a 1:18.136. So putting consistently fast lap times down in that 96 garage. I mean, it's not just one lap fast. He's putting consistent lap times down. So expect to see that 96 car up front. You should see him have a little bit of a lock up there in turn number 2.
He's one of the faster guys on the track last lap. Matt Turner also up there. He's been getting consistently better as the season moves on here. He was never doing poorly, but he's every week I think he's a position better than he was the previous week.
Lewis Archer trying to put a lap in to take that pole away from Grabowski. The last few races, these two drivers have been battling each other for the pole. Lewis with a 1:19.072, so still on colder tires. As we've got just about 4 minutes left here in qualifying. Steve Grabowski up on top with Lewis Archer second, Daniel Thomas third, Matt Turner fourth, and Ivan Baukamp rounding out your top five. These guys will have to make one pit stop, but that is for tires. They cannot make it all the way on fuel, but they can make it, I believe, like 80 to 85% of the race on fuel. So it's definitely gives them a little bit of a variety and an option on when they want to come to a pit stop. If they want to come, 15 laps into the race, or do they want to wait till it's 15 laps to go and just really run it out. It all depends on how these drivers want to finish the race, whether it's a lighter tank or a heavier run, or it all depends on preference. But these F2 cars, they do use up these tires enough to where you run them too long, it does actually benefit you to get new tires. As where the F3, you don't really see that much tire fall off. So there you see it right there. Lewis Archer, with 3 minutes left in qualifying, takes the top spot with a 1:17.841, 400 faster than Steve Grabowski.
You knew we hadn't seen the last of him. I've been watching his laps here. He's been kind of gearing up for a big run at it, and there it is. Barely nudges him. If the race is anything as competitive as qualifying and practice has been, this is going to be a good one. And as you were speaking to the tires, I can tell you from practice, I think I want to hit that halfway lap, and then I'm coming in for tires. These things get a little unsteady, lose a lot of grip, especially in the higher speed corners you're talking about, where they're kind of flat. A lot of lateral grip there. You lose the rear end when every other lap you've had it. You can be full throttle out of a corner, and the next thing you end up stepping out on you.
As we take a look at Steve Grabowski, just had that pole position swiped from him with 3 minutes to go. Now 2 minutes left. Most of these drivers will get 2 more laps of qualifying. Maybe 3 if they can get to the stripe in time. Looks like Lewis Archer is still sitting on pit road. He's happy with his lap.
Matt Turner also on pit road. I think he says that's about the best I can do here. You guys have at it.
Steve
Ivan's still out there giving it.
On his first flying lap. That last one he did go off, warming up the tires, but he's moving now. Baukamp starting another lap as well.
Byram spins it, and it looks like he's gonna tow, so that's gonna be the end of his qualifying day.
Daniel Thomas coming out of the pits. He's going to make one last try at it. Don't think he's going to have enough to be able to get a good flying lap in, as we've got about 45 seconds left in qualifying. Once that time ticks down, they have 2 minutes to complete their the lap they are on, the final lap. And we'll have 5-minute warm-up, and we will go racing.
I think Grabowski should finish this lap in time to do at least one more lap.
I believe so. He's got 25 seconds to get to the stripe. Yeah, Grabowski's going to get one more.
He's got a good exit here.
A 1:19.110. He's going to have to pick it up a lot more than that. Ivan Baukamp getting ready to come out of the last turn. He's on a flying lap. Looks like he had a rough corner entry on that last corner. A 1:18.352. He's only got to pick up 3/10 from that in order to get that next spot. Baukamp's going to stop. Buddy Boggs trying to improve his lap time at the moment. Currently 9th. It looks like all of our drivers did finally get a lap time down in qualifying, so that's always good to see that these guys were able to keep it on track and get a good lap time.
Yeah, I think Steve here is our last chance to knock off Lewis.
Steve Bunting currently sitting 11th. Can he get his car down into 21s? We're not sure, but here comes Steve Grabowski. Can he knock off Lewis Archer? No, 1:18.319. Lewis Archer in the number 46 CUDA Works car is going to take the pole position for the Austrian Grand Prix and leave himself set up in a great spot to go 2 in a row in the IFL F2 series.
That was a great qualifying session, so close. The top 3 of them separated by just a blink of an eye. May even say the top 4. And you have Ivan and Chris Byron back here in 5 and 6, very close times.
Daniel Thomas had a great qualifying effort. I believe that is his best qualifying effort to date here in the F3 series, qualifying in 3rd position with a 1:18.049, just 1.5 tenths off Steve Grabowski there in 2nd place. So our top 5 are all very, very close to each other, and it's good to see that close of guys here in qualifying and in practice. That's going to let us know we're going to have a really good race. The Red Bull Ring here has got long straightaways, which will allow good tow and good draft for some racing. As we look here, we got a little bit of time. We have a team league or team racing league here going on. So as you hear us talking about the Kudo or the Orion or the Lumos Esports, we have different teams that race within our league with multiple drivers on a team. So when it comes to our championship, this is what our constructor standings are actually looking like after 4 rounds. The CUDA Works F2 team is out front of Turning Point Racing, and the CUDA Evo F2 team, you see Daniel Thomas and Ivan Baukamp, they are currently sitting in 3rd place with the Lumos Esports guys. They've had a couple drivers out for the last few weeks and haven't been able to score too many points, but they are still up there. A lot of points left to be had here in this series. We are only on round 5 of 18, so quite a few races left to go. Definitely time to join if you're interested in racing either in the F2 or F3 series. We are always welcoming new members and new teams to come and race with us.
Yeah, Rob, I'm new this season. This is my first season with you guys. I drive F3. I try to drive as often as I can. I share the seat with 3 other guys, but we've had great races. Tight racing. We've got some points, some podiums. We're still seeking our first win, but we found someone to race with every race, and it's been fairly clean and respectful.
Yep, it definitely has been interesting. It's been awesome to have a bunch of new people in the league. Even if you can't come race all the time, it's definitely a learning experience to come and race cars like this that I've found. I'm mostly an oval track racer, and to come find a league that's got people that are as cool as they are here, as fast as they are, and willing to help you as much as they are. It's not really found too much here in iRacing, and it's really awesome to have found a group of guys like this. And half of these guys are right here. There is our driver's standings. Lewis Archer currently out front with his win last week. Don Day with his first win at Monza, currently sitting right behind him. But Chris Byram and that other F2 CUDA Works car is coming. And then Luis Colon. So the Works and the Turning Point guys in the top 4, and Eli Cannon is sitting there with the Orion guys in 5th place. So still very close. Still a lot of points left on the board. Warm-up session is currently going. We've got about 2 more minutes left of warm-up. Few cars on track. Lewis Archer getting a few laps in. Buddy Boggs, Matt Turner, Daniel Thomas on track. So just trying to get race day nerves settled out, get into a groove, and get ready. What do you think the keys to winning the race today are going to be here, Anthony?
I think one of the keys, as we mentioned in qualifying and practice, just keeping it clean. Stay on the track, avoid the slowdowns in those significant areas, and just stay out of each other. Like, keep the car clean. Hopefully be running mid-race by the end of it. Things get settled down. Other guys may have some problems. You can pick up some positions, but I think one key is just keep it clean. Some of these guys who may be not dropping 17s back here, like Chris Byram or Luis Colon or Don Day, could really pick up some positions by staying out of trouble, staying between the lines. Because we're going to have a big race up front with Lewis, Steven, and Daniel. I think they're going to keep it tight. And anytime there's tight racing, there's a chance for a collision. So you could see a podium go to one of these guys who aren't really expecting it today.
Yeah, and one thing to definitely watch out for is going to be turn 1. Turn 1 is, at this track, is actually a fairly fast turn. But it's very sharp. And if you try to take it too wide, you definitely cannot take it as fast as you would if you were by yourself. So it is definitely a very tight corner to try to take side by side, and could be cause of concern. But as you see Luis Colon make a mock pit entry, the warm-up is going to be done. We're going to get ready to grid up, and it is going to be lights out in just a moment. Everything is set. Here is the grid for today's race. Lewis Archer out front, Steve Grabowski in second place. Daniel Thomas rolling off third, Matt Turner in fourth, Ivan Baukamp fifth, Chris Byram in sixth, Luis Colon coming in seventh, Don Day starting eighth, Buddy Boggs the third, starting ninth, Eric Beddoes in 10th, and Steve Bunting rounding out your field.
25 seconds to go here, Robin. I'm getting nervous. I'm not even in the grid, but I'm nervous for him.
And it looks like we have an admin mistake, and it looks like they're going to have a rolling start today. So that's definitely going to change things up. Everybody,
yeah, I wasn't expecting this
used to
one.
launch control and everything. It looks like we'll have a rolling start. So, yeah, that's going to change things up a little bit. Lewis Archer going to have control with a rolling car. So, sorry, yeah, Lewis Archer will have that control. Grabowski did qualify second, so that's really, really interesting.
A little error, but it's definitely going to play into the drama of things here. Steve Grabowski really missing the pole now. He would have been in the control car for this restart. I don't think it's going to change up the start of the race very much at all. In fact, it may keep turn one a little cleaner than we would have gotten with the grid start.
Well, here they go. They're getting the pace cars in. Coming out of the last turn. It's going to be his Lewis, and he stomps on the gas as he gets out of the corner. We are green flag racing here in Austria. This is definitely going to space out turn one a little bit more. We are clean and green. Everybody makes it through turn one.
That's turn one there.
Lewis Archer gets out front. Is that Daniel Thomas? No, Steve Grabowski taking the lead from Lewis Archer.
Driving hard, late.
Oh,
He's
and
going
he
to run
gets
off a little
over the
bit.
curb. That's going to give Lewis a spot and possibly Daniel a chance to try to take over.
If they say you cut the corner there, you may have to give up a second over this first lap. It's one of those corners where you can run wide and may penalize him.
Thomas looks to the inside. daring move. Baukamp right behind in fourth.
Archer looking in his mirrors, just hoping that we can get a race here between Thomas and Grabowski. Maybe he can get some separation. Archer pulling away a little bit from Grabowski here, and he's got a charge coming in from Daniel Thomas. Trying to take away the line a little bit, but Thomas may have a better exit here the way that Grabowski had to hide the inside. He loses a little momentum coming out of the final corner.
And all these guys still got cold tires, so Chris Byram looks like he's going to be trying to make a move on Luis Colon. Everybody's single file here at the moment.
Fairly clean first lap there. We had a guy or two run off the course and come back on, but no major collision.
Grabowski gets so close to Lewis, and Daniel Thomas gets into Steve Grabowski, spins Steve Grabowski around. Tough break for Grabowski.
Well, he just had to check up a little bit to stay out of the rear end of Lewis there, and then nowhere to go, just a little
loose on the
accordion.
apex of that corner. Grabowski got it, and who is that off? That's Steve Grabowski going off track. Oh no, that wasn't Steve Grabowski. That was Matt Turner going off track. So not sure what happened there with Matt.
Back and take a look at it here.
Looks like he just locked him up and went a little too hard into the corner. Could not turn.
It's a dangerous corner that'll take you out. One mistake and you're gone if you can't get it locked up.
So that gave Lewis a little bit of space, and Luis Colon now turns the fastest lap of the race here in fourth. Meaning the guys up there in front had to check up a little bit. Lewis Archer starting to pull away. It's just over a second now, the gap back to Daniel Thomas. Daniel Thomas and Ivan Baukamp look like they're getting ready to get a little bit racy. And Chris Byram's trying to crack the top four. Oh, and Matt Turner's getting by. Don Day's falling back. Looks like Don Day has an issue. Goes off track. Yep, spins it out coming out of turn number 2. Very easy to do coming up that hill.
Just gotta wait for everyone to come by before we can get back on track here.
Very nice re-entry by Don Day.
Might have a little damage. Might need to hit the pit road and see if he can use that fast repair. Also maybe with a little damage, Daniel Thomas. I'm going to take a closer look, but he could have some wing damage from when he got into Grabowski.
Unless he really didn't get him too hard, Grabowski could have locked him up himself. I'm not exactly sure if there was contact there or not.
By the way, Daniel Thomas looking pretty clean here, so he got away with that one with minimum damage.
And he's still turning some fairly decent lap times. Just a little bit slower than Archer and Baukamp at the moment, but still keeping Baukamp behind. As you see Ivan getting very close to Thomas's rear wing there.
Yeah, Donde has entered pit road to examine that left rear tire. He hit the wall with maybe a little bit of wing damage too. So he has entered and exited the pits.
You see Ivan Baukamp currently running in third. Great start of the race for him. He was down on the leaderboard in qualifying, but quickly here in the race moved himself up into a current podium position at the moment. But as you see him coming out of the final turn and across the stripe, that is 4 laps complete. Still 43 more laps to go. Lewis Archer sets the fastest time.
Oh, it gets taken away. Steve Grabowski drops a 19.13, definitely trying to make a charge back to the front.
Wow, what a lap by Grabowski.
That is half a second faster. If he can do that, he's already back up to 6th.
Steve Byram trying everything he's got. Luis Colon almost goes off.
Yeah. Matt Turner has had an accident again.
Oh, Matt Turner, what happened to Turner in the CUDA driving school car? Did he get loose in turn 1 and just spin it around like Don Day? Oh, he hit the inside curb, upset that car, and spun it out. He didn't get into anything.
As you've been saying all day, that's a dangerous corner. You don't want to hit the outside curb, but if you cut it a little too short, it brings one of those wheels off the ground and you lose traction. And when you regain grip, that's what happens. You spin it out. Definitely going to take some life out of his rear tires, though. He's going to feel that one later on.
Tough break for Turner. Luis Colon still under pressure from Chris Byram. Byram soon to be under pressure from Grabowski. Grabowski still 3 seconds back from Byram, but turning some very fast laps there in 6th position.
I think he'll have him before too much longer. Grabowski's driving angry, trying to get back up here.
Oh, and Colon locks up into 2. That's going to allow Chris Byram to get to him on this straightaway, I think, especially with the toe. He's not going to make a move. I think he's just hanging back there with him at the moment.
Waiting for a little better opportunity.
Still early in the race. Byram has the speed. He's right there. Can he get by Luis and start working on Baukamp? Did lose a little bit of ground there.
Last lap looks like Lewis Archer dropped the fastest lap.
Steve Grabowski still holding on to that fastest lap with a 119.1. There goes Byram into turn number 1. Colon just goes high and lets him go. So move Chris Byram up to 4th position.
See if he gives it up, and he looks to be staying right with him.
Yeah, is Colon going to make? He is going to make a move into turn 2.
Gonna have the outside here.
Byram plays the inside very
That's
well.
a little wide.
Pinches him a little bit in the corner and makes him stick. And now Daniel Thomas under fire from Ivan Baukamp. And now Chris Byram trying to make a move on Colon. Colon got back by.
Yeah, this battle is far from over. It's going to develop for a few laps, and it's looking like it's going to let Steve Grabowski catch up to him here.
Grabowski is now within a second of these guys, and Grabowski was 3 seconds back. So Luis Colon definitely is holding up Chris Byram a little bit and allowing Grabowski to catch back up.
It was a good race. These guys got to be careful. They're going to give up position to Grabowski. If they like it or not, it looks like he's not going to take no for an answer.
Ivan Baukamp right there on Daniel Thomas. Is he going to make a move into turn number 2? Remember, these two are both CUDA Evo teammates. Baukamp goes in. Ivan goes wide. Or Thomas goes wide. Move Ivan Baukamp up to 2nd. Back to this chase.
A little pressure there got Thomas off his line, I guess, and drove the corner.
Well, when you've got someone
to...
as fast as Ivan Baukamp behind you, yeah, he is your teammate, but he is fast. And running in 2nd place there with him behind you, it gets a little bit of a, I got to go. And you make one little mistake and he gets by you. There it is. But now he can follow Ivan around and he can use some of that toe and try to get some. Luis Colon goes off into the dirt. Keeps it out in front of Byram, but Byram now has Grabowski on his tail. Grabowski using the toe. Is he going to make a move? Yeah, he's going to make a daring move down into a very fast left-hander. He's going to have it on. Is Byram going to make a charge back down the front straight?
Beautiful pass there by Steven Grabowski. He sets his sights. And Chris in front of him. And they have 8 uses of the what is essentially push to pass here.
DRS and Luis Colon goes way off track in turn 1. That might be a slowdown. As, yep, there you see Luis Colon slow down. Chris Byram uses it, so he makes a move on Grabowski going into turn 2. Side by side. Grabowski's got the inside lane, and he's going to prevail. Great battle in here for 4th, 5th, and 6th position.
Grabowski's going to look to check out on these.
Oh, and Colon dives down into Byram, sends it way wide and into the wall. That was absolutely insane. Luis Colon just dives it down into the turn. Just sends it. No way into keeping it, and goes into the wall, pushes Chris Byram way off into the dirt, and Chris is going to have a really hard time rebounding from that one.
Yeah, I think that's his day done there.
I mean, he's still sitting in 5th position, so he's still in a good amount of points, but that definitely, I believe, takes away his chance at winning this race and possibly even getting a podium.
He's coming down pit road. Repair all that damage. Should set him back probably 40-45 seconds.
So Ivan Baukamp in 2nd place, starting to cut back the gap on Lewis Archer just a little bit. 1.5 seconds the gap at the moment.
Last lap, Ivan was 2/10 faster than Lewis Archer, running a 19.35 compared to the 19.52 of Lewis Archer.
And I have to imagine currently at this point, we are on lap number 10. We've got 9 laps complete. We've got almost 37 laps to go. Lewis Archer out front, doing what he does best, leading the race, controlling the race, and just running his line. We saw last week that, when he won the race, he was way out front. He was doing some stuff. Ivan Baukamp might have just cut the track and got a time penalty there. But Lewis Archer, last week he had an extra half a second in the tank that he didn't even have to touch leading the race. So I have to imagine that Lewis still has a lot of pace, and he's really just trying to keep that gap at a second and a half or so, because he's definitely got a little bit more for Ivan once he gets there.
Yeah, and Ivan's had to come through the field, maybe use up a little more tire than Lewis has just leading the pack. He can control, how hard he needs to push. He can fall back up the corner a little bit and save some tire. It's going to make a difference late in the race. Maybe he can go a few laps extra on the and
Lewis Archer gets loose and spins it! Ivan Baukamp takes the lead! Daniel Thomas going to come up on Lewis Archer, but one mistake by Lewis Archer puts him out of the lead. Now Ivan Baukamp over 2 seconds in front of Archer and Thomas.
I guess that answers that. We were wondering if he was pushing or not. It looks like he was pushing more than we thought he was.
It seems like it. It looks like Ivan was putting a little bit of pressure on Lewis. We've got this little joke in the IFL that there's this Lewis Archer syndrome, where once Lewis gets behind you, no matter what you do, you just end up wrecking or going off the track. And it looks like Lewis Archer's getting a taste of his own medicine with some Ivan Baukamp syndrome. So move Ivan Baukamp to the lead of the race. We were talking about how he didn't seem like he had the pace to be there in qualifying, but there he is, 2.3 seconds ahead of Lewis Archer. All he had to do was bide his time and not make a mistake.
Yeah, the key was to keep it clean and let the guys in front of you move out of your way, and that's what he's done. Moved all the way up to P2, and then let Lewis Archer move himself out of the way. And he's hoping right now that Daniel Thomas behind Lewis Archer can really put the pressure on Lewis, maybe make a run for P2, and that'll let Ivan pull away a little bit. But Lewis Archer is not going to be an easy guy to just run down and pass. So he's going to put some good laps. Don't really look in the mirror, look ahead. Make sure he makes Ivan get a little bigger in that visor.
And with Lewis spinning, I have to imagine that he, like he said, he was pushing a little harder than we thought, which means he might have heated up his tires a little too much, and that might actually put him at a disadvantage having that heat cycle on the tires. I don't think Daniel Thomas is really pushing too hard to try to get past Lewis. I think he's kind of trying to follow around and use that draft to try to catch up to Ivan there, and use two cars to catch the one.
And while we've been watching the
caught him
lead,
by a tenth, but
we've been watching this lead, and Steve Grabowski has made a fantastic rebound. Back to P4. Last lap he ran an 18.99. That is a full half a second faster than anybody in front of him or behind him. And so he's not done yet. He's got a little gap, but he's certainly looking to get back in there.
yeah, he is definitely catching everybody. And when it comes to pit stops, if he can be turning faster laps than everybody at that time, he can definitely gain a little bit of time on people during pit stops.
I don't think he's out of it yet. I don't think he's out of it at all. He's right there with these guys, picking up half a second a lap. That'll put him back in it about the time they need to come in for tires and fuel.
Thomas still putting some pressure on Lewis Archer, not letting him get away. As we got a moment, I mean, Ivan Balkamp still out front. Let's take a ride with Ivan as he leads this race at the Austrian Grand Prix. 14 laps, or 13 laps complete now. That's 34 more laps to go.
Takes it right up to the old banana peel on the left there. Pretty good exit. Good but dangerous passing zone coming up here if you can get a good toe and get the inside line. Hard corner to go too wide though. This upcoming corner is the one that I always found most difficult in having to brake, but maintain your speed through the corner. Try and hit that apex. You want to get right to the outside there. That was
I always found this corner right here is the hardest. You really got to brake into the corner, but you can't attack it too hard, otherwise you overshoot it. And if you brake a little too hard when you're overshooting it, then you end up spinning it around. And then if you get on the throttle too fast, you end up spinning it around. So it's definitely a very flat, somewhat fast corner that can really throw you off if you hit it wrong.
Oh, he's running it wide there. I don't know if that's going to be a penalty. You guys left tire into the red. That's awfully close to the slowdown. I don't think he got it.
That was Ivan's fastest lap of the race, a 1:19.096. Still 2/10 off Steve Grabowski's fastest lap. And Grabowski is not really catching Daniel Thomas and Lewis Archer all too much anymore.
He put down that one really good lap.
Lewis Archer is pulled away from Daniel Thomas just over a second.
Instead of Steve Grabowski making up half a second a lap, he's knocked it down to maybe a tenth, 2/10 a lap.
Now, Steve
still think he'll get there.
May be fast, but Daniel Thomas here in the number 96 machine, he's had a couple rough races, but he's very hungry for a podium, and even being just 3/10 faster than Grabowski, he's definitely going to put up a fight. It's not really easy to pass here. And there's so few opportunities to pass every lap, and I can almost guarantee that Daniel Thomas isn't going to give up that podium spot too easily just yet. Be it that we are early on in the race, but he is sitting in a very nice spot. He's got great track position if anything should happen. So I have to imagine he's going to defend that spot with everything he's got.
Yeah, he certainly didn't give Grabowski any slack in the opening of the race when they had that slight contact there and Grabowski spun out. He was right on him going to, I believe it was turn 2. But they're closing up here, so we should have a race. Well, a little lock up there. And Grabowski in the back. We can see all of our leaders in one shot, so that means going to be a pretty good mid-race here.
Yeah, Ivan
Grabowski coming in.
Balkamp still only 2.5 seconds ahead of Lewis Archer. Not sure if Archer had an issue or not, but he slowed up a little bit, and Thomas is caught back up to within 3/4 of a second. And Grabowski's really coming. I mean, he's not really gaining a whole lot of Thomas in the last 2 laps. He's only gained 3/10. So Thomas still putting down some good laps. But yeah, some great battling up here for the podium positions. Lewis Archer really got to be kicking himself. He is currently second, which is a good, respectable position. But just running out front, leading that race, and making a mistake all on your own, those are the mental problems that will plague you for the rest of that race, especially if you don't get the finishing position that you really deserved out of it.
Yeah, I've always found it easier to be P2, less stressful. You're just chasing the guy, waiting for his mistake. And when you're the guy, you're setting the bar. And one little mistake puts you behind like this.
Grabowski has caught up to Daniel Thomas, and the battle's about to start. And ahead of these guys, I see a Turning Point car. I believe that's Luis Colon, or Don Day actually, that Ivan Balkamp is about to catch. So, along with these guys being close together, we're about to deal with a little bit of lap traffic, and that could throw these guys for a little bit of a loop as well.
You'd like to imagine they just adhered to the blue flag and let him go. But you don't want to get lapped, you know?
Oh, and Steve Grabowski goes off into the sand. Steve Grabowski into the sand pit.
That's just pushing real hard. Lost a little traction there. For later into the run, those rear tires are going to have a little less grip, especially with spin on the opening part of the race.
Just a little bit. Got her loose. He's still currently in 4th. Chris Byram 6 seconds behind. And Chris Byram actually is coming into the pit lane at the moment for his pit stop. So, not having the start of the race he wanted. Coming in for pits, get some fresh tires, and finish out the rest of the race.
We have Buddy Boggs. We haven't spoken of him since qualifying, but he's back here in P6, making a respectable showing, filling in for the Orion guys.
Actually, he's currently in P5 at the moment now that Chris Byram just went into the pits.
Oh, yeah?
But he's got Matt Turner there behind him. You've seen Matt have a good finish. As you see, Buddy Boggs goes off. Oh, and he almost gets into Turner. They keep it clean. Turner's going to get by him for that 5th position. Turner trying
Boggs,
to make up for a rough start that he had with Luis Colon. Or that was Chris Byram, sorry.
I think it was Chris Byram. Who I thought would... Or was that Luis Colon? Let's see.
No, that was...
I thought he would...
Well, it was Luis Colon that that dove bombed Chris Byram and sent Chris Byram off the track. Matt Turner just had a couple issues on his own. And he is working his way back up a little bit at least. And it looks like Daniel Thomas is putting some pressure on the man, Lewis Archer. They are catching Ivan just a little bit. You see the gap there just broke down from 2 seconds. So just under 2 seconds now, the gap. Lewis reeling in Balkamp, but Thomas reeling in Lewis.
You wonder if maybe Lewis is starting to use a couple of those push to pass. Pick up some straightaway speed. Oh, they're driving in deep. Really picking up some time there.
This currently a battle for 2nd position.
Last lap, Daniel Thomas significantly a bit faster than Lewis or Ivan. Maybe this is the way Daniel likes to drive a car. Maybe his tires are coming to him. The car is feeling a little more under control for him, getting that confidence.
And he's
See
got
if he
that
makes a
toe
move.
behind Lewis. He's going to make a move to the inside going into turn number 2.
That's a risky
Lewis
corner.
is going to give him some space. Thomas holds the inside. They're going to be side-by-side drag racing down the second straight.
A lot of respect in that corner, both of the guys knowing how hard it is to pass there, giving space. They're going to decide it maybe into this corner. I think Lewis is going to give him the corner there. Just go on, I'll catch you later.
And Thomas gets a little bit loose, and that's what Lewis was expecting. Now they're side-by-side going to be going through this hard corner. Lewis holds it hot wide, tries to get on the throttle early and get a good run down the straightaway. Thomas is going to block him. Kill that momentum of the 46 machine.
It's going to come back out of this corner. Look to make it onto the front straightaway. See if we can get some toe there. Maybe use a little
And Lewis is going to the pits. Lewis Archer making his pit stop on lap number 21.
A little under halfway, so second stint gonna be longer than the first. Maybe you can save those tires a little better.
Luis
Is that
Colon
Don Day in the
just
back?
had an issue. It's loose in turn 1 in front of the leader. Goes off into the grass. So Luis Colon having a rough time here at the Red Bull Ring. Really having a tough time keeping it on the racetrack. Ivan Baukamp in the number 8 Cuda Evo F2. Your leader right now, 3.4 seconds gap over his teammate, the number 96 machine of Daniel Thomas. So the Cuda Evo boys out front for this one.
Yeah, real good showing for these guys. And it's not by accident. They have the speed. Lewis Archer may have given the lead away with a little bit of a lockup and a spin, but Ivan and Daniel were there for a reason. They weren't just waiting for a mistake. They were there to contend.
Yeah, Ivan doing everything he needed to do. And that's the thing about racing. You gotta run your race. You never know what the person in front of you is gonna do. You never know what the person behind you is gonna do. And you just run for you, and you do what you can. And if you do everything right, sometimes you end up in a position like Ivan, where the person in front of you did everything but one corner wrong. And that one corner has now accrued to over a 30-second gap over Lewis Archer. Lewis did take a pit stop, so that can change once Ivan and Daniel come into the pits. But that gap right there, definitely a good sign for Ivan Baukamp. As long as Baukamp can keep his car on track, he's looking good for his first win of the IFL F2 Series.
And he's had an up and down season. He's had speed, but gotten into accidents, had some misfortune, got himself into some trouble. But today, he's just kept his nose clean, stayed out of it, just ran his, like you were saying, ran his race. He's been racing the track and just letting everyone else kind of move out of the way. And he definitely enjoyed that battle between Thomas and Archer back there before Archer ducked into the pits. Pulled away another maybe second and a half, I think. He got a little gap. And Archer electing to take those pits to keep from losing time. That was a smart move. He could battle with Thomas for P2 or just take the pits and get track to himself, make up the time there.
And we're going to have to watch this leaderboard here. Daniel Thomas, actually that time by was faster than his teammate and leader, Ivan Baukamp. So the gap, 2.8 seconds going into turn number 2. We'll have to follow that through the track and see if that gains. It looks like Thomas lost a couple tenths here in that corner. But Thomas was a little bit faster than Baukamp, so we'll have to keep an eye on that, see if Thomas can gain any of that ground. 3 seconds, as you seen with Lewis, he had a little about that, and 3 seconds can be lost in a heartbeat. So better keep an eye out on Baukamp, as we are almost halfway through this race. As Baukamp gets ready to come across the last half of the racetrack, he'll complete lap 23, which is going to be our halfway marker here. Halfway through this lap, we'll be halfway through the race. This race once again brought to you by Butt Kicker and LTD Designs, and a new sponsor that just came on, Major's Garage. So we're all very excited. The league is growing, and we've definitely got people that like what we do and are here to support us, along with all you guys out there watching every single week, supporting what we all love to do, and that's race and have some awesome battles like we've seen so far here at the Red Bull Ring. Looks like Daniel Thomas in that second place has decided to come to the pits. So I have to imagine there's a little bit of team communication between him and the leader, Ivan Baukamp. Baukamp saying, I'm not ready to pit yet. Go ahead and get it done. Looks like Lewis Archer, our first driver who has pit, is currently running in third. He's gotten past Turner and Thomas. So Lewis Archer is going to take that second place spot from Daniel Thomas.
Yeah, it looks like undercut really working out here for Archer.
Yeah, Lewis, he was right behind Thomas, took that pit stop, and now it looks like...
Or has it? Let's see.
It looks like he's 14 seconds ahead of Daniel Thomas. It looks about 13 seconds ahead of Daniel Thomas. Not sure if Thomas had a rough pit entry or what happened, but Lewis gained a whole lot of time with that undercut. So great thing by him. I believe Grabowski still has to pit, and Baukamp still has to pit as well.
Grabowski has been running times that if this were a longer race, he may see himself back up there contending again, but I think that last spin may have put him too far back. But he's been running in the 18s consistently last few laps.
This is where it gets interesting, okay? Pit lane times that I'm seeing are between 38 and 40 seconds, okay? If you look at the gap between Lewis Archer and Ivan Baukamp, Lewis Archer is 34 seconds behind Ivan Baukamp. The fastest pit lane time I have seen is 38.43 seconds. So even if Ivan Baukamp gets through pit lane 4 seconds faster than everybody else that's come through pit lane right now, Lewis Archer will still be right on his tail fin the moment he comes out of the pits. So at the moment, with Lewis Archer's pace and everything that's going on, once Ivan Baukamp takes a pit stop, Lewis Archer should be the unofficial leader at the moment when it comes to the two cars pitting in front of him. So Lewis Archer, with an amazing undercut and an amazing recovery, could come back here leader here once Baukamp and Grabowski take a pit stop.
Yeah, and you said that fastest time, the 38.43. That's not anybody's time. That's actually Lewis Archer's time. So he has the fastest pit stop, and gonna be soonish. I hope that Ivan Baukamp's gonna come down and pit. I thought maybe he'd wait a lap longer than his teammate, since we can't have double pitting here in the rules. Oh, and Daniel Thomas. Daniel Thomas is not gonna like that. He has a runoff. Looks like in turn one.
Oh, and Daniel Thomas. Oh, and he gets into the wall. Really tough break for Daniel. Hopefully he could rebound a little bit from that.
I'm afraid that's going to cost them a podium today, though.
I believe so. You see Chris Byram come in there. It looks like they're actually battling at the moment.
I believe that
Daniel came out in front of Chris. He does have some wing damage. You can see the damage on the right side of that car. So definitely a little bit of wing damage for Thomas. I have to imagine that Byram's not too happy that Daniel's holding him up a little bit. But there is still some time left. Thomas just doing everything he can to salvage. Looks like Ivan Baukamp in the pits now. He's going to be coming out. Can he beat Lewis Archer? His pit lap was a 39.2. And he does. Wow. Maybe my math was a little bit wrong. He comes out, looks like 5 seconds ahead of Lewis Archer. So Lewis Archer does actually gain ground on an undercut. There you see Lewis coming through the corner now. Lewis gains a lot of ground back on Ivan Baukamp with the pit stops, but not enough. But Lewis Archer also has warm tires, and Baukamp's coming out of the pits with some cold ones.
Yeah, you should have significantly better lap times for the first 2 to 3, maybe 4 laps out of the pits. He's lighter, less fuel, warmer tires, so he should pick up even more time.
And who is that right behind Lewis Archer? Matt Turner. He still has not made his pit stop. He is the only driver on track, actually, along with Steve Grabowski. Both CUDA Racing School drivers have not made their pit stops yet. Matt Turner currently running in 4th, but still needing to make that pit stop.
Steve Grabowski up here, still running hot laps, 18.9s again, compared to the 19.26 that Lewis Archer just ran. So Lewis Archer is back on pace after his pit stop. He's worn some fuel away, got the tires where he needs them. So he's really putting in some good laps here.
Yep, Grabowski doing everything he can to try to get as far ahead as possible. Currently, at the moment, it looks like he's going to be coming out around P4 or so. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Ivan Baukamp did have a fairly fast time. He had the second fastest pit lane time, which is exactly what he needed to Lewis Archer, but he was still 0.8 of a second slower in that pit time, which doesn't seem like a whole lot. But when it comes to seconds on the racetrack, with cars going over 150 miles an hour, every half of a second or 1/10 of a second counts.
Wonder when Steven Grabowski. Oh, he's coming in right now. As speaking of it, and there he goes, steps onto pit road.
There he is, Steve Grabowski, and then Matt Turner is going to be our last one. But as you see him coming out of the last turn, Ivan Baukamp in the number 8 CUDA Evo F2 team, he's going to retake the lead from Grabowski, and Archer's right behind him.
And there goes Archer.
Archer's actually gained about a second on Baukamp in the last couple laps.
Grabowski's just now away from the pits. He's exiting now. So he lost all that time, talk about just sitting on pit road and waiting.
Yeah, he lost 3 spots. And Grabowski actually had the fastest pit lane time with a 37.47 to Lewis's 38.43. So he actually got on and through pit road a full second faster than everybody else. I'm not sure if that means that's going to be a pit penalty or not. But wow, that and I believe so, because if I'm looking over here, I see the speed. He might have gotten a speeding penalty on pit road, so we'll have to keep an eye on Steve Grabowski.
It's going to absolutely kill his chances at a comeback here if he has to come back down for that penalty.
Yeah, that is for sure. And as I look, he also has 12 off tracks already. That doesn't include incident points coming into contact with another car or a wall or something. So he is also in grave danger of getting himself a drive-through. Just contact with one car can give him the drive-through and really end his race. So Grabowski really needing to be careful with what he's doing now, because we are only just over halfway through this race, and he's really close to having a bunch of penalties.
And he wants to keep his position here, so I mean he doesn't have that penalty for speeding on pit road, which he didn't come back down this lap. So we'll see what he decides to do. Because if one of these guys have trouble, you know they're going to be pushing. One of these guys could end up in the wall or the sand. He take advantage of that and be right back in the podium.
Yeah, as we ride along with Lewis Archer, you can see just the gap there in the bottom right-hand corner, the gap to Ivan Baukamp.
Lewis Archer in an 18.94. That is almost 6/10 faster than Ivan on that last lap.
And Lewis just put a 19.244, so Time slowing down just a little bit at the moment.
Could have just missed an apex there. Missing an apex could be the difference between an 18.9 and a 19.2 and 19.3.
But he did just gain 0.2 of a second on Ivan there as well. So definitely trying to find a different way around the track and find a little bit of speed.
Matt Turner's still in P3 here, but waiting for that pit stop. He'll have to relinquish that.
Looks like Daniel Thomas on pit lane after a turn 1 incident. Looking to get some service done to his vehicle.
You really hate to see that. He was having such a good race.
It was a real bummer. He really had a probably his best chance for a podium so far in his season here in the F2.
He was a victim of
race here at the beginning and just overdrove the car a little bit, and that's just how these F2 cars are. They are very difficult cars to drive. You see Matt Turner finally making his pit stop.
And Thomas was a lap or two removed from his pit stop, so he was running a heavier car, more fuel, colder tires, so he used all that confidence. I think he was really getting comfortable with the tires and the fuel he had before. Probably just drove a car length or two harder into the corner, and that's all it takes in these F2 cars.
And in that last lap, Lewis Archer's gained half a second on Ivan Baukamp.
He's going to catch him in the next 10 or so laps. Could be an exciting race.
Well, you better catch him soon because we've got just over 15 laps to go. No safety cars. We've kept it clean and green so far for our Austrian Grand Prix. Ivan Baukamp currently out front. Lewis Archer right behind him, and Steve Grabowski with the fastest lap still running third.
Yeah, so he's about 21 seconds or so behind, so he's running fast. He's the fastest guy on the track, but a couple of his own accidents have really set him back.
And this is where we'll see if Team Orders come into play. Daniel Thomas there, you see, getting lapped. Is he going to get in the way and try to slow down Lewis Archer a little bit? No, he's going to stay off to the side. And no, he's not going to let Archer by. Will Daniel Thomas hold Lewis up a little bit? Lewis is going to dive down to the inside. And he's going to get by clean. I'm sure Baukamp was hoping that Thomas could hold Lewis off just a little bit more than that.
If that was my teammate, I'd certainly be in there telling him to hold him up. But being in the booth, I really want to see Lewis close the gap. Make a race here for us.
And Lewis is closing the gap. It was 2.5 a lap ago. It is now 1.5. Oh, and Daniel Thomas loses it, and he goes flying.
This day has gone from great to bad to worse here.
And that's that mental game. You get frustrated, you get put off, and all of a sudden you can't hit your marks exactly where you need to hit your marks, and you go flying off the track. It's really tough. It's definitely something I know I struggle with racing in the F3 when I make a mistake or someone hits me or I do something here. It really takes your focus away from what you are actually doing and focuses it on something that you may be frustrated with or a problem you have. So trying to get that focus back on just driving your line and driving your race and making it to the end sometimes can be a bit much. As we see Daniel Thomas go off track, and Lewis Archer has got the gap almost within a half a second of Ivan Baukamp. Not sure if Baukamp's just kind of taking it easy or what's going on. Lewis really putting the pressure on Ivan. We'll see if Ivan picks up the pace. Ivan's still not in the 18s. His fastest lap of 1:19.075, so not really pushing too hard. But at the same time, he's up front and he's not pushing too hard and he's not causing any risk for himself. As we've seen Lewis really pushing, trying to get up, which is causing risk for that number 46 car. So if Baukamp can just hold on and not get that Lewis Archer syndrome we were talking about earlier, and just make Lewis have to work and make Lewis use up his stuff. Ivan could be sitting in a pretty spot right now.
Archer again 2/10 faster on that lap than Ivan, but the two laps ago, if the telemetry is right, Ivan ran a 120, so he definitely had some issue that slowed him up. Maybe missed the apex or locked up in one of the corners. But the number's right. If our software is correct, he had a bad lap that time that gave it away. But
and it sounds like we've got some lap traffic up ahead of these guys. Here, a couple cars in front of them, so could be coming up on some lap traffic. It looks like it's another one of them turning point cars. Possibly Don Day once again.
Archer got right up there, about half a second. He's maintained it, dropping between about half a second to 7 cents behind.
Now Archer's literally just setting Daniel up. He knows he has another 12 laps to go in the race, so we know he has some time. He knows he's within a second of him, or half a second. I'm sure Archer still has some of his VRS pushes. And,
he really gained in that corner. Big gain in the last two corners.
He's watching him. Is he going to make a move? He's not going to make a move into one. He's setting him up. He is watching where Daniel makes all his mistakes. He's watching to see what Daniel does, where, and he's looking to take advantage of it. I mean, he's just going to run as close as he can until Daniel makes a mistake. But a great battle for the lead as we have 12 more laps to go.
Ivan has to be looking at his mirrors. I think that's causing his lap times to fall. He's 19.9 last lap as opposed to the 19.33 from Lewis. I think he gave it all away in the final two corners.
And it looks like Daniel Thomas has finally parked his car, so he is going to be the second car to come out of this race today, along with Eric Beddoes, who's currently 30 laps down. Ivan Baukamp still in control of the lead, but Lewis Archer in the 46 coming strong. Half a second gap between the two. Everybody else on the racetrack is all strung out and separate, but these two up front battling for the lead as they come across the stripe. We've got 11 more laps to go in the Austrian Grand Prix.
Overall puts about 3/10 on Lewis Archer with a 19.4 as opposed to his 19.7. So Ivan's got it back together, maybe regaining his focus.
And you see
less
Lewis
looking in the mirror, more on the track.
You see Lewis go over them yellow curbs. Tells me that Lewis is over driving the car just a little bit. He's really pushing, trying to get to Ivan. So I really think that if Ivan just kind of holds on and runs good, steady, consistent laps, I think Lewis is going to really have a tough time getting around him. I think Ivan made a mistake and allowed Lewis to catch up a little bit. But in the last few laps, Lewis just can't gain more than a second or two before Ivan gets it back. So Lewis is definitely going to be hard-pressed to get that number 8 car.
And these are two of the best drivers we have in the F2 League. We have some really great competition here, but these two are always up there at the top, either qualifying in the race or what have you. Two of the fastest guys you want to compare yourself with, and they know how to drive, and they're both aggressive. I'm sure Lewis is going to put on some moves to try to get around him, but Baukamp knows how to block you. He can make his car wide.
The main thing is not overdriving and getting into any of those off tracks that'll give you a slowdown penalty. Because riding within a few tenths of each other, you've got the draft. But if you go a little too hard through one of the corners, you really can lose it. And here it comes. Lewis Archer's going to make a move coming down the first straight. Down into turn number 2.
I should leave him on the outside into the tight little corner here.
Ivan's going to break inside. They're going to be close. Ivan's going to give him room. Lewis slips up coming out of the corner. That's going to give Ivan the throttle. He's going to be there.
A little hard on the throttle there at Lewis, but Ivan should have the toe here. Get it back in this corner. He's going to go on the inside.
And Ivan gets a little loose under braking. And Lewis Archer in the number 46 Cuda Evo car takes the lead back with 10 more laps to go.
Ivan's not going to give it up, though. He's going to regain his composure here, get his line back. Try to stay on his bumper. Make Lewis start looking in the mirror a little more. Start missing apex to see if he can make another mistake. He's already made one that gave the lead away earlier. All he has to do is force him wide in one of these corners. Forces him into the red. He get a second slowdown, have to give the position away.
And we also have a lap car coming up in front of these guys. So that could be a factor. Might help Lewis get a tow. Might help Ivan get a tow, but Ivan is falling back. He's about 0.6 of a second behind Lewis. So Ivan not able to keep up with that CUDA Works car at the moment. Ivan might be hoping for Lewis to make another mistake, but Lewis is the closer, man. He comes out here and he can start in the back and work his way to the front. But them last few laps of the race, Lewis is almost a mistake-free driver. We do see him make some mistakes like we seen earlier on in the race. We've seen him slide off at Zandvoort last season in the F3 series. We've seen a couple incidents earlier on in the race. But as this race progresses, Lewis Archer, his focus improves, his speed improves, and the next thing you know, with 2 laps to go, he's putting the fastest times of the race down, and he's up front battling for a podium. It's pretty crazy to actually watch Lewis Archer get it done here, as Ivan is driving very hard, trying to catch Lewis, pushing the limits of the racetrack.
Lewis got a little loose coming out of the corner. It looked like maybe caught a little bit of oversteer, but he gathered it up. Nothing that's going to give up a lot of time. Ivan just hopes to stay close in case he makes another mistake here. He's falling back.
Yep,
Doesn't appear to have the same speed.
Yeah, I wonder if Ivan might have gotten into a curb or something in one of those slower laps that allowed Lewis to catch up, and maybe he's got a little bit of floor damage or something on that car that's not allowing him to carry the same speed, because these guys, as they go on here, their cars get lighter, and Baukamp, he pitted on lap number 26.
Yeah,
so
he pit 6 laps later.
Laps ago. And he should have a little bit lighter car, maybe not lighter than Lewis Archer, but he should have a somewhat lighter car than what he had earlier, and he still has not turned a lap into the 118s, still sitting with the fastest lap of 119.075.
And Lewis last lap turned an 18.95, so he is back into the 18s, and he's 6 laps longer or shorter on the run there, so his car is 6 laps lighter, but I don't think that's going to make the difference we're seeing here of about 2 seconds since he retook the lead.
Yeah, Lewis with a 118.945 and Ivan with a 119.834, so almost a full second slower on that lap for Ivan Baukamp. Very, very close to getting his first F2 win, but Baukamp might have to just settle for a podium. Another driver that's currently sitting on the podium with only a few laps to go, somehow, I don't know how, but Steve Grabowski still sitting in 3rd position.
He has to be kicking himself. He was back up in the same shot as the leaders. He was 4 seconds, I believe, off the lead before he went into the dirt. Lost about 21 seconds. And he's overall gained more time. I think he, in his head at least, thinks without that last error, he gets around these guys. He's battling for the lead right now, or a couple of seconds in the lead in front of Lewis Archer.
Yep, and we seen last week a little bit of an issue in qualifying. Gave him a little bit of a rough start, and he ended up starting from the pits. But as the cars came into turn 1, he was coming out of the pits, so he didn't have too much of a start. But he did have a couple issues in the race where he spun off and had a couple incidents, got into a car that was spinning out, and just didn't have the finish that he really would have liked. But
it's one of those days you speak of where you get frustrated and you lose your mental strength, and where these cars
end up falling apart. Yeah, but he's on
not
his
fully
way
focused
for a podium today. Just a few more laps to go, 6 more laps to go.
And maybe Ivan has found what he's been missing. He ran a comparable lap to Lewis Archer last time in the 19.2. So he's knocking the times back down. He's not let it get to 2 seconds yet. Knocked it back down to about 1.6 it looks like. So
Yep.
maybe he can make a last second drive here. Knocked another 10th off in that corner. So this race might not be over.
Trying to put the last minute pressure on Lewis Archer. Archer, he actually did just gain 0.4 of a second on Lewis right there. Maybe them tires just got a second win and he's ready to go. But honestly, Ivan hasn't been able to turn a 118 all race long. So if Lewis can turn a 119.1 or a 119 or a 118.9 from here on out, he can definitely take.
There it is, Ivan with an
down.
18.89. So he's up there with the best lap. He is actually tied for the same lap as Lewis Archer with an 18.89.
So Ivan Baukamp coming back strong. If only he could have pulled these lap times off a few laps ago.
I'm sorry, I said that was the best lap.
Lewis,
that still belongs to Steve Grabowski.
1.2 seconds the gap. Ivan trying to close it in.
There's a later portion of the lap where Ivan really gained on Lewis last lap. We're coming into that now. Let's see if he gets it under a second. And it loses a little.
Yeah, he's going to lose 0.2 in that corner. Gain a little bit coming into this one.
Sometimes you give the entry to gain the exit. I think he got it. He got it all back.
Overall, I think Ivan Baukamp might actually be able to put in a run on Lewis Archer. Archer needs to be absolutely flawless for these last 5 laps. Count that, actually the last 4 laps.
Lewis really picked it up on the exit of the last 2 corners, pulling away another 0.2.
Lewis 1/10 of a second faster than Baukamp on that last lap. A little bit of lap traffic in front of these guys a ways up. Not sure if they will catch them before the end of the race. Steve Grabowski just puts down another flying lap, a 118.7. So Grabowski still coming.
Oh,
but he's
and Chris
20
Byram,
seconds back.
an 18.77. Second best lap of the race.
Yep, Byram currently in 4th position.
He had that accident earlier in the race that put him back here, else I think he may be up here throwing his hat into it.
Yeah, with that incident with Luis Cullen, he lost about a good at least 30 seconds, if not more, with Luis, and he's 30 seconds behind Grabowski at the moment. Check that.
Goes back to the beginning of the race. I said keep it clean, stay out of trouble. That wasn't his trouble he caused. I don't think he was at fault in that one. Just Luis overdriving the corner, missing his braking point, took you out, and sometimes that's your luck. But just staying clean, which is what Ivan has done to keep him in second here.
Yeah, either way, Chris Byram doing a good job, showing perseverance, and coming back with a decent rebound. Currently running in 4th position. Baukamp doing everything he can to try to catch Lewis Archer. Still 1.2 seconds the gap. Loses a little bit of time there in turn number 3.
Just wonder if any of these guys are saving DRS left.
And it looks like Buddy Boggs has an issue on track. Loses it in turn number 1. And as he comes back on, he's good there. So yeah, just a little mix-up in turn number 1. Buddy Boggs, his first drive here in the F2 series, filling in for Orion Motorsports.
Looking to bring home the P8, which will be some points for Orion. Better than 0 they would get for missing entirely.
At Baukamp, he's lost about a half a second on Archer. And with 2 laps to go, Archer's still turning 118.9s. Archer's going to have to make a mistake in order for Baukamp to catch back up.
Baukamp better be running the hardest laps he can run here. He's going to need the fastest lap of the race 2 laps in a row to really make a race here.
Steve
Speaking of fastest
Grabowski
lap,
just puts the fastest lap of the race in with a 1:18.507. Absolutely moving. Still 20 seconds back from the leaders. Not going to have enough to do it. Very rough race for Grabowski. He could have been battling for the win. But as Lewis Archer comes out of the final corner, the white flag is in the air. One more lap to go here. Oh, sorry. I thought that was the last corner. We are getting ready for the last corner. He's coming through that rough part of the racetrack.
yeah, Rob, I think the only person ready for this race to be over more right now than Lewis Archer may be you, my friend.
Definitely
Getting excited
ready,
as we all are here.
definitely ready to see another F2 race in the books, and definitely excited for tomorrow's F3 race right here at 3:45 on the IFL network. And now Lewis Archer gets the white flag. One more lap to go for the Austrian Grand Prix. I could not get my words right tonight. I was calling Ivan Baukamp, Daniel Thomas a couple times, but Lewis Archer out front of Ivan Baukamp. Steve Grabowski currently running fourth, Chris Byram in fifth, and Matt Turner rounding out the top 5. Lewis Archer.
Oh, a little bit of apron there. That's going to cost him a little bit of time.
Yeah, Lewis had a rough start to the race. He tends to have those, but once again has bounced back, pulled off the ultimate undercut on Daniel Thomas, gaining about 7 seconds on pit road. He's only lucky that Steve Grabowski had some issues, because Grabowski is really, overall, been a lot faster than Lewis throughout this race, but just hasn't been able to get up there after a couple incidents. But the man of the hour is that guy right there, the number 46 CUDA-Works F2 team, as he rounds the last corner. He does it 2 in a row. Lewis Archer is the winner of the Austrian Grand Prix. Ivan
Certainly not as
Baukamp,
easy as last week, but he got it done.
yeah, Ivan Baukamp comes home in 3rd position. Steve Grabowski coming out of the corner. He's going to come home 3rd place in that CUDA Racing School, the CUDA E Motorsports. Takes the entire podium once again. And Chris Byram with a really
Solid
crappy
rebound.
start to his
Solid.
race. I mean, Luis Clohan really sent him out all the way into the wall, into the dirt, and he comes back out of the final turn to take 4th position home and take some good points for the CUDA-Works team. Great drive
Not a podium,
for Chris Byram.
but he has to be happy with it. Not a podium, but a great rebound. He kept his concentration, rebounded.
And after his podium last week, Matt Turner, still with a great drive, comes home P5. Luis Colon coming home in 6th position. Don Day in 7th. Buddy Boggs the 3rd. In 8th, Steve Bunting 9th. Daniel Thomas 10th. And Eric Bedros is rounding out our field. Boy, oh boy, what a drive we had today. And we'll see if we can actually get some of our podium here. Just give us one moment and we will have some interviews coming.
Looking to
And it looks
interview
like
P3
our 3rd place driver, Steve Grabowski, is not with us at the moment. But we have Ivan Baukamp coming here in P2 today. Ivan Baukamp, Rob Slider up in the booth. You got me, buddy?
What's up, bro?
Ivan, tough race today, man. You really had some pace.
Yeah.
And you had the lead for a while. and you really looked like you were going to be battling Lewis there right at the end for the lead,
Yeah.
but just didn't have the pace Lewis did right there at the end. But still a very respectable P2, another podium here on the season. What does this race mean to you after all these attempts trying to get on the podium, trying to get some good results to finally end up here P2, battling for the win at the end of it?
Yeah, it means a lot, man. I did this week a lot of practice, and it really paid off. And it wasn't for nothing. And the whole day I was rushing Le Mans, so I didn't prepare myself for the race. You know, I just did 1 hour of racing. And next time, if I do the Saturday more practice, I will be my pace will be even better, man. I prepared myself this week a lot, and it paid off, man. And yeah, Lewis, he was gaining at some point so much, and I was kind of like driving like I already did it, you know. And the pace was the same from the beginning till I overtook him till he pit. It was the same. And after my stop, he was 4 seconds behind me, and I was driving, and I thought, it's not gonna happen, man. And at some point, he was gaining, man, and he was behind me, and yeah, he was going for the overtake, and I had two collisions with Chris, so I thought better not fight it like I normal do, and yeah, I was behind him and still the same pace, and I thought, what am I doing? Go for it, you know, and I was pushing, but yeah, he was so fast today.
So what was
Yeah,
going through your mind when you're chasing down Lewis and you see a couple things happen, you get yourself up in a second, and all of a sudden Lewis Archer spins in front of you, locks up the
yeah.
brakes, and he didn't go all the way around, but what was going through your mind when you seen that happen, knowing that opportunities like that don't come around that often?
I was like, no, you did not. Don't make it too easy for me. But he had so great comeback, man. And yeah, I have to say he spent and he lose 2 seconds, maybe 3 seconds of me. So he was lucky that he didn't was going into the grapple. You know, if he was into the grapple, I had to win for sure. And he had a great comeback, man. That's all I gotta say. It's speedless, man. 4 seconds and he gained it. And when we are close to each other, the same pace, I can't believe it, man. But anyway, P2 is good, man. I scored good points today, and I care more about that than the win, man.
Yeah, we were talking earlier in the week about the Lewis Archer syndrome that everybody gets when they get Lewis Archer behind them. They can't
Hmm.
help but wreck. And it looks like Lewis had a little bit of Ivan Balkamp syndrome today, running at the beginning of this race. Lewis had a great pit stop, undercut your teammate Daniel, and ended up getting himself in position to catch you at the end of the race. What do you have to do to prepare yourself to beat a driver like Lewis Archer, a guy that can have a really rough start to the race, that can drop down 7 positions, but you know that he's going to be back up front battling for the win at the end of the race? How do you go into the race and prepare to drive with Lewis and the other drivers here in the F2 that are of that magnitude?
Yeah, I'm just doing my miles, man. That's every day I do 100 or maybe 200 laps, and that paid off. And I keep going with practicing like that because you see, I'm in second. Maybe P1 was it could be a P1 today. So and today I didn't practice at all. So next week I don't know where we go. I think Long Beach. Long Beach, I'm not so good there, but Road Atlanta I will be better, man. Because then the full Saturday I will go practicing and I will strike back, man. I will go for P1.
So at the end of the race there, last 8 or so laps, you still had the lead, and Lewis was catching you. He was closing in 2/10 a lap or so. He got around you, and you fell back almost 2 seconds. And we were like, is there a problem with his car? Did he run over a curb? We're like, where's the speed from Ivan? And then the last 4 or 5 laps, you actually turned. I was looking at it. You turned the exact same, almost the exact same best lap
Yeah.
as Lewis. You guys both ran an 18.89. So where was the speed and where did you find it for those last few laps where you kept the interval between about half a second to a second and a half?
Yeah, it was there, man. I can better drive with a distance from 1 second or 2 seconds than have a distance from 10 seconds because if I have that, I'm not pushing anymore. And yeah, that's why he came so close. And I saw the orange car, and I thought, don't fight it like you normal do, because the race is almost over. You're on the podium, your first podium, and yeah, I had some bad races with Chris, and I just couldn't do it, man. And that's why I first let it go, and I thought P2 is good. I lead the race for so long time, and yeah, then I was driving behind him, and I thought, what the fuck am I doing? Get this guy, because we have the same pace. Only when I came out of the pit, Lewis pace, it was just amazing, man. 4 seconds he gained on me, and when we're close to each other, we have the same pace. So yeah, I fucked that up.
Well,
If I was
you got your first podium with the IFL F2 series.
Mhm.
Congratulations on your drive. In 2 weeks, we go to Long Beach and start our American leg of the tour. Look to see you battling back up front with a little bit less reserve, a little bit less nerves. Now you got the podium out of the way. You're not fighting for that first one. Now you're going to be fighting for that second and third and this first win. So we look forward to seeing you there. You got anybody you wanna thank?
I want to thank everybody who's watching IFL. It's a great league, and thanks for all the support, and everybody else from Holland maybe that does watch this. I want to thank everybody, and I will see you all next time.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Great race from Ivan Baukamp, your second place finisher here at the Austrian Grand Prix, and now the man of the hour. He started on the pole and worked his way back up, had a couple incidents, and is now sitting here 2 in a row. Lewis Archer, what a race, man. What does it mean to get 2 in a row with guys like Ivan Baukamp and Chris Byram and Steve Grabowski all putting times like that? 2 in a row cannot be easy.
That was difficult. That was really. I definitely. The more laps went on, the more I disliked that track. I loved getting in a flow with the track, and the curbs into turn one, and the where you've got to take time when you need to improve time, where you've got to do it. It's just super uncomfortable. And I genuinely thought Ivan had me at the beginning of that race. Like, I didn't have an answer for his pace, and I just thought I'll call the undercut, which didn't work. And he came out 5 seconds ahead. And I just got my head down, and I thought there was something wrong with his car, actually. I assumed he'd hit a curb or something and chipped a bit of damage or something, and because it was a regular about 2 or 3 tenths a lap, wasn't it? And if it wasn't 2, it was 1, and it genuinely all the way, and I thought he wasn't going to give it up. Be super cautious right near the end of the race, but yeah, definitely not sunk in at all. So hard.
So we've got to talk about the beginning of the race. You got a great start off the line. It was a weird start, being that it was a rolling start today and it wasn't a standing start. I'm sure that threw absolutely every single driver off. But you got an amazing start. Yeah, you took advantage of the rolling start. And the moment you were able to, you gone and you went. But tell me about that little brake lockup and that almost spin. What happened there? You were a good second and a half or so out in front of Ivan, and it's so uncharacteristic of you to really just lose it like that when you're in your zone out front. What happened there? Were you just trying to get away, or was it just them cold tires creeping up on you?
I mean, I really would have to go and study the telemetry and genuinely find a cause. There will be one, of course. I will have had a little bit too much speed, or I was still trail braking a little bit or something and trying to ask a bit too much of the front wheels, or maybe I was just still too in the corner when I was accelerating. But yeah, it was the smallest of moments. And I actually thought I was going to catch it. And I off the throttle and I give it a good whip, and it just didn't come round, and I thought it's gonna do a full 360 on me. I jammed the brakes on and it didn't. I managed to just a small little, as minimal as I could make that. But yeah, that I thought that was it, gone. And then when I really tried to push for Ivan's pace and then couldn't, I thought that was it. That was and it would have been my mistake. It would have been my fault. you know, generally, and yeah, quite shocked. Still quite shocked.
No,
I think that saving it probably saved your race. Looking at the less than
Yeah,
2 second win you had over him,
yeah, it's so
it's
close. Like,
crazy.
yeah, if I had done a full spin then, or yeah, definitely. And he was pushing so hard, and I knew, and I'd have like a little sub lap, couple tenths slower, and he'd catch me back by those 2 tenths, and I'm like, he is not giving up. And you know, getting in front is one thing, but getting away, getting the and these cars, they got a lot of draft. Oh,
Now,
Yeah, it's not every day
what
you see the
really
move of the
what
race.
what really
Yeah,
actually got you into the position to take the lead was your absolutely amazing pit stop. You had the fastest pit road time out of everybody until Steve Grabowski came in and absolutely smashed your pit time by over a second.
oh no.
You had the fastest pit time. You undercut Daniel Thomas by, I believe it was almost 5 seconds, showing us how much pit strategy really does come into these things. Were you expecting to have pit strategy be what put you in the position to win the race today? Or
Well,
was it just you realized you had some pace, you felt like you were being held up, and made a decision?
yeah, it was more the second one. As soon as Daniel got involved, I mean, that was again, that was a second surprise. I caught up to Ivan, or was really desperately trying not to lose grip of Ivan, and I think it kind of swayed. It almost came back to me, and then bang, Daniel was on me. Now these cars lose speed when there's a car pulling behind you, so I felt my lap time drop by a couple of tenths just in being there. And and then bang, he was on me so quick, and then he was round me, and you know, and we engaged in a fight for like what 3/4 of a lap, and I thought Ivan's getting away. All I could see was this other yellow car disappearing, and I thought if I don't call it now, I'm gonna lose 3, 4, 5 seconds. You know, we'll both lose that time. My fight isn't really with Daniel today, although it could have been. You know, I thought my fight really is with Ivan, and I need to just get back out onto a clear track. Of course, we can't see what's around the other side of the track, but luckily I came out onto a bit of empty track, just got me laps down. But yeah, I mean, I did practice coming in and out of the pit a lot, seeing how much you could trim on the exit of that 90-degree coming out the pit, and how late you could leave it on the brakes coming into that zone. It's quite a long, it's quite a fast corner actually. You can take quite a bit of speed into that pit lane, obviously at your own risk because there's a wall there. But yeah, there is a bit of time you can gain just from driving fast in and out of that pit.
So going back, you're talking about all the practice you put in. Let's go back to pre-race to qualifying. How hard were you pushing? We were watching that. You guys were so close in qualifying. How much importance did you feel there was in getting the start, not even knowing it was going to be a rolling start, which makes it that much more impactful? Uh,
Yeah,
but you and Steve had such a close battle. How hard were you trying to get that pole position to lead into turn one?
that was just. I mean, obviously at that time, I believed that it was going to be a standing start, and I mean, you don't really want the outside. That was just a straight up team dominance thing. I just was trying my absolute best, and he genuinely did me there. And I just, you know, and it like just little tiny moments on my laps, and I managed to hook a couple of real nice ones together, and I thought that might do it, and it wasn't enough, and I thought I'm gonna have to go a little bit crazy here. And yeah, I don't really remember it being a super clean lap. Must have just been super risky, but yeah, I think his was at 886 and mine was at 880 or something silly like that. It was absolutely, and I'd be amazed to watch those two laps side by side and see where the difference is.
But yeah, I think that was a key factor in you getting away clean in the first corner there. Steve had a little problem later on, so if he would have maybe got control of that rolling start, he could have got away. Then you would have found yourself in that trouble that Steve did. So qualifying, your spin, just there are a lot of key moments in this very tight race. It was tight from practice all the way to qualifying to the finish. So
It's
a
not a
lot of
track.
little moments.
Yeah, it's not a track that you can just run away on. It's not like Spa. It's not like Barcelona. It's not one of these tracks where you can just evolve with the grip level and just really snatch it and run. Do you know what I mean? It's just brake, square it off, get your acceleration down, and then look at the times. And then you get to the next corner, brake, square your edge off, get your accelerator down, look at the times. It's so weird. It's so weird. And that, yeah, it's just not even being a very long lap in the first place. And that's it now, haven't we? We've got no that's break now, isn't it? That's the European season done. We all get on the airplane and fly over to the States now.
Yes, sir.
That is correct. Lewis Archer, after 5 rounds, he holds 3 wins and the Drivers' Championship points. Congratulations, Lewis. What a drive for the first part of the season. Looking forward to the American leg to see if you can put it down as much as you did in the European leg. You got anybody you want to thank before we let you go?
Just again, thank you to all the organisers. Thank you to you two for the stream. Thank you for the marshals and the stewards. Thank you for the admin team and everything. Thank you for the guys that turned up, the guys that watched on YouTube, etc. Everybody that's a part of this. It just keeps growing with the amount of people that take part in it. So,
well, congratulations, Lewis Archer. Win number 3 on the season for the IFL F2 Series. And that's all we've got for you today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming out and joining us here at the Austrian Grand Prix for the F2 division. Make sure you join us tomorrow, actually, 3:45 Eastern for the F3 Series Austrian Grand Prix. And we will go racing here with a bunch more action. I am Rob Slater along with my partner Anthony Wallace. Thank you for coming out, and we will see you tomorrow.